What's up, y'all? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at X-Men issue number 107. This issue came out in October of 1977, and man, we have one heck of an issue to look at today as we are continuing this big storyline. We have the X-Men, they're trying to save Princess Lilandra, and they're going to be coming up against the Imperial Guard. That's right, we're going to be looking at the first appearance of the Imperial Guard here. There's a lot of first appearances in this issue. Definitely a collector's item to get. Just awesome storytelling, great artwork. What else can be said? And so let's go ahead and get started with today's story. This issue is brought to you by Chris Claremont, who wrote this issue. We have Dave Cockrum doing the artwork, Dan Green on the inking, Joe Rosen, and Andy Yankus, the colorist, and then Archie Goodwin as the editor on this issue. Joe Rosen actually was the letterer, not the colorist. Excuse me for that. And so let's go ahead now, continue today's story. Last issue in 106 was pretty much like a flashback within a flashback, because this is called a flash, like the series as a whole is a flashback. But we saw pretty much Professor Xavier give a flashback of what happened in the Danger Room, but now we're going back to the present now as the X-Men went through that Stargate to follow Eric the Red and Princess Lilandra, who has been kidnapped and taken back to her home. And so now the X-Men are going to be confronted by none other than the Imperial Guard here. I mean, look at all these different characters here. I mean, there are so many to know. I can tell you for one thing right now, I cannot name off all these characters at once, but there are a lot of first appearances. All these characters right here all make their first appearance in this issue here. So the X-Men are confronted here. We have the big baddie here, as we're going to find out who this guy is. This happens to be Lilandra's brother here, Daken. I could tell you his name for certain because he makes a lot of appearances in this issue. We have Eric the Red. And so what the heck is going to happen here as we continue this story? Let's go ahead and continue on now. We see that right on target here we have the X-Men, and they're confronted by the Imperial Guard, and they can actually understand the Imperial Guard's language. They actually speak English. And to the Imperial Guard, the X-Men appear as aliens. And we see here that Cyclops tells this guy right here, who happens to be the Gladiator, that's his name. He tells Gladiator basically that they are from the planet Earth and they're here to save Lilandra. But we see here that Guardian, he is basically, Gladiator, he's a guardian of the Imperial Guard here. I mean, he serves the Emperor here, who happens to be Princess Lilandra's brother, Daken. And so Gladiator is not going to go down without a fight, and he has a lot of company to accompany him here in this. We see that Cyclops starts the war here, or the battle here, with using one of his energy beams, optic blast, takes down Mentor here. That was this guy, Mentor. And so we have Oracle, and we have just so many other different characters here, and we got a full-fledged battle right off the get-go. Colossus starts to fight. We have Storm. We have Nightcrawler. Just so many great people. We have also Banshee. Just so many great characters within these early X-Men issues of the new team. By far one of my favorite teams. And like I said, a full-fledged battle. Jean Grey, who is also the Phoenix at this point in time, she used most of her energy to get the X-Men through that Stargate. And so her energy is pretty much used up. And Wolverine is like, what the heck have you gotten this into, Scott? And we see Cyclops is like, back off, Wolverine, or so help me all. But we see here that once again, they're going to be confronted by this shapeshifter. This shapeshifter right here, he can cause himself to become anything that he wishes. So he changes himself into this big, gigantic monster. Nightcrawler realizes, heck, I can do that too. I have this image inducer that he's been using in the past few issues, and I'll just go ahead and use it on this big old character here. So that's exactly what Nightcrawler is going to do here, as we see we see Colossus running at Lennon's ghost, two of them. And so we see that the shapeshifter is confronted by and surprised by what Nightcrawler is able to do. And we see here that through all the confusion, he changes back to his normal self, and Nightcrawler takes out this guy right here. He definitely goes down for the count. His name was Goblin, Hobgoblin. And so Wolverine is now going to go after another person. This person is Oracle, and Oracle is saved by this fire-breathing solar firestorm guy here that just takes down Wolverine. I mean, singes his entire costume. We see that Oracle starts to laugh, but Wolverine ain't gonna have none of it, and he throws Oracle right into this fire demon-looking dude. Then Wolverine's like, you know what? I need a new costume because mine's been singed. So then he goes after this guy named Fang here, and Wolverine is going to take him down, and he's going to then put Fang's costume on himself. We see that the whole battle is continuing to go forth, and we see that Daken, who is Lilandra's brother, is looking from the distance here, and he's like, they're going to be doomed just as you are, Lilandra. You just wait and see here. And so we see that Lilandra, her main thing is to stop the Emperor, her brother, from gaining this power, as we soon will find out the full story of all the confusion that's been going on, her relationship with Professor Xavier. All of this is explained in this issue here. We see that she is then confronted by what we see is the Soul Drinker, and it causes her to basically be in a mind trance, and Nightcrawler will be the only person to save Lilandra from this Soul Drinker. So we see that Nightcrawler is able to break the chains of Lilandra, and then he teleports Lilandra to safety here, as both Lilandra and Nightcrawler are going to be confronted head on by this giant robot and the Soul Drinker. Nightcrawler, for the first time, as we see, teleports somebody for the first time, and it takes a big strain on Nightcrawler, as we see right here. Nightcrawler is able to save Lilandra. Cyclops is like, all right, princess, we've traveled, throughout the galaxy to come save you. Now, what the heck is going on? And spill it real quick. So we see here that Lilandra is going to give a backstory as to why she basically came to the X-Men's aid. We learned that her brother is basically the Emperor. Daken is the Emperor, and she defied the Emperor back in the day, and so she was put into basically Imperial custody. She was arrested for just usurping and pretty much going against his orders here, against his plans to become emperor. And so we see that there was a civil war that erupted over basically her, because half of the people actually loved Lilandra, but then the other half of the people hated Lilandra. And so they loved or hated her, and there's a huge civil war that broke out. And so she was supposed to go on this Imperial flagship to be executed, when all of a sudden she escaped using the scout bug, and that's where she was chased down by the Imperial Guard. And while she was in space trying to escape, she was mind linked by Professor Xavier, as his face popped up, and she knew it instantly. She needed to make it to Earth for safety and contact him. And during that time, Professor Xavier was fighting off the Xenox, as we recall in issue number 65. Well, Daken, he learns basically that Lilandra is headed to Earth thanks to this alien race here. And so what Daken does is he alerts Daven Shikari, who is Eric the Red, and Eric the Red is given the order to take down Professor Xavier and kill Professor Xavier, and also eliminate the X-Men for good. And so for these past few issues, we've seen the X-Men go up against Polaris, Havoc, Magneto, Juggernaut, and also Black Tom Cassidy in these past few issues, and even Firelord. And Firelord was responsible for finally having Eric the Red capture Lilandra back in issue number 105 here. And so we see that when a million years pass, these stars begin to align with each other, and it causes the Macran crystal. That's the big weapon that will give the Emperor ultimate power here. And so that's what the Emperor has been searching for this entire time, is to gain absolute power over the universe. Basically, he'll become God. And that's what the Emperor wants. And we see that Lilandra is standing in the Emperor's way, and Gladiator is going to try to get in the way of Lilandra and stop her, when all of a sudden here, as the battle is continuing to go forth, and Wolverine in his new costume is going to try to strike when this Colossus looking dude takes him down. While the battle is taking place and there's more havoc taking place, and even Cyclops goes up against someone with the same powers as him, as that battle is continuing to go forth and Gladiator is about to strike down Lilandra, he is struck by an energy beam, and it looks like the cavalry has finally come to the X-Men aid, as we see an appearance of the Starjammers for the first time. We have Chad here. We have also Christopher Summers, who Cyclops doesn't know yet. That's just a little spoiler right there. That is Cyclops' dad. We also have Raza, and also this other cat-like person, as we'll learn more about her and just others of the Starjammers as they come to the X-Men's aid here. I mean, just full-fledged battle taking place. Just awesome action. Once again, this is a great story, great storytelling by Chris Claremont, as now the X-Men had the aid of basically the Starjammers, and now the Imperial Guard is pretty much taken aback here. So now what is Daken going to do, as he now has to fight two of his enemies, the X-Men and the Starjammers here? And so we see that Jean Grey does a mind scan of this leader, and yes, she learns that yes, he is related to Scott, but Scott doesn't know it. And so now we see what Daken is up to. He says, "Do your worst, fools. It will make no difference." And so we see that the stars are beginning to pretty much line up with each other, and an energy beam strikes the Macran crystal, and with all that energy beam, we see that existence itself, reality itself, blinked for the first time, and even the Fantastic Four, who are talking with Peter Corbeau, realize that if it blinks more than once, then the fabric of reality itself will die. And so that's what the X-Men have to not let happen. They have to take down the Emperor next issue. So we'll see if the X-Men are successful in doing that as we look at issue number 108 next time. And until next time, keep reading comics.